Greetings, metalheads. Welcome to another edition of the Friday 13th YouTube channel. Today I've got an amazing interview for you. This is a progressive band from Sweden, progressive metal, called Paralydium. Now, they've just released their new album on Frontiers. It's called Universal Cause, which is absolutely brilliant, guys. If you're a fan of Symphony X, DGM, Cloudscape, and a band called Lalu, you're really going to enjoy this interview. I want to thank Frontier Records for setting up this interview. I'd like to thank guitarist John for the interview. And most important, guys, please subscribe to this channel. I need your support. Please leave comments, and also thanks for supporting me throughout the year. Now, I'm going to be taking a break from this next week, as I'm going to be on tour with Anvil for 9 weeks. So I'll be back in 2025. Thanks again, everybody, for your love and support. Merry Christmas, and thanks for watching. Hi, everybody. We're speaking to John from Paralydium. So welcome to Friday 13th, my friend. It's an honor to interview finally. How was your day?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm going to ask you some warm-up questions first. First of all, I'm going to ask you, as a guitar player, what age did you learn to play guitar, and were there any influences in the family that any father, mother, or brothers or sisters play any instruments?
Yeah, I mean, my father has always been a like inspiration for me when it comes to the guitar. It has always, been in the surrounding of the family. And my mother played a lot of piano, so I basically grew up playing, melodies here and there on the piano, and which later evolved into picking up the guitar. But I started quite late. I was like 14 or 15 years old when I started for real, well, trying to learn the bar chords and stuff like that. I was very much into 60s and 70s music back then. So, learning the basics, a lot of blues, 12-bar blues and stuff like that. And when I got better, I started with scales and learning the foundational pentatonics, and just to navigate my way. I was really into playing solos or improvising and stuff like that. So but you could say around 15 years old I started guitar.
Started quite late then in life.
Oh yeah. I mean, music had always been around me, so but really digging into it, like I couldn't do anything without the guitar. It was like 5-6 hours a day, just you just soaked in everything that you got, basically. So it was a really nice time.
So what was the first guitar you had? Do you still own it?
Oh, I think the brand was like some kind of cheapo. It was not Black Star. It was something with like what was the name of it? I can't remember, but it was like one of those $200 electric guitar. But I mean, for me, having that with an electric amp, it was. I mean, I was in heaven, and I think also that's one thing of being. That was the only thing I had. So, I mean, that was like the perfect thing to start with, because you didn't get like a Les Paul 59 and the Marshall amps, and so you really had to like fight your way through it, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, obviously your family wanted to make sure you was dedicated.
Oh yeah,
Instead
and
of
then
buying you an
later on
expensive guitar.
and when they saw that I was really into it, I got I got my father's Fender, like a early 70s Strat, and that was like, okay, I know what the guys are talking about now.
So who's your guitar influences, John? Who's inspired you as a guitar player?
Oh, there are so many, but I mean, going back, it was especially in the rock music, it was Eddie Van Halen. That was like my main guitar idol of all times, because they also had the tunes, so it was not like, of course I listened to Paul Gilbert and Yngwie and all those guys, but Van Halen, they had such good tracks, so it was like you got the best of both worlds there. So Van Halen, definitely. Listened a lot to the Giant stuff, Dan Huff, amazing guitar player. And
Who's
of
he?
course,
Who is he? For people that don't know, who is he?
Dan Huff, the guitar player from Giant, the 80s, late 80s, early 90s.
Prog band, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he later like becomes a major producer and songwriter in Nashville and has done really cool stuff. So, but he's like, those guys, I really enjoyed a lot of like fusion jazz stuff. So
I can tell why you started playing on the music. Right then, so what was the very first band you were in? Did you record any demos or anything?
Oh yeah, we did. It was a local band here in Stockholm. We played a lot of like glam 80s hard rock. We called ourselves Sharp. And we did a lot of gigs. This is early, maybe 2003, 2004, 2005. And we did a lot of gigs, locally. And that was when like bands, Heat, the pretty famous from Sweden now. And we did gigs together and really were a bit up and coming. And a lot of those guys later moved on to other bands and established themselves.
All right, then. So, what was the first recorded band that you did? Like, did you do any albums before Paralydium?
No. The first recording. Oh, that was with Dynasty, like a real recording. We recorded in Polar Studio. So, I was one of the members from Dynasty, one of the founding members. So, the first album that we really recorded, and then released, that was Bring the Thunder. I think that was 2008 or 2009. So that was the first experience, from like doing. And at that time we didn't do any like demos or anything. We actually rented a really famous studio here in Stockholm and recorded the album for 2 weeks every day. So that was a really cool experience. And then we promoted ourselves and got relations with labels and stuff like that. So it was a really good experience.
Wow. So why did you leave Dynasty? What was the reason for leaving?
I think it was at those ages it was like I had different kind of I think we wanted to do different things music wise. I think it was around at that time, around the 2010. I has always been very into this like progressive music, and I think they still wanted to do the 80s thing. So, and things part ways, and it was at that time I started to really I explore those areas more and write more progressive music. So it took me about 5 years until I released the EP.
So the name Paralydium, who came up with the name and what does it mean for people that don't know?
It doesn't have like a definitive name, but just to, it's some guy, not being too technical, but there's scales, and there's the Lydian scale, which is one of my like favorite scales that I always come back to when I write, which has a really certain like particular sound to it. So that's just like I did some mashup with Lydium. So it's like some kind of definition of a sound, and para is like some kind of Greek old word that is like says beyond. So it's like beyond Lydian, beyond a lot of melodies. Like
so, the project. I mean, the lineup, is it still the same lineup as you had for the first album? Did the first EP and the first album have the same vocalist? Did you have the same singer on both the EP and album?
Yeah, the first EP and the first album was beyond that. That was Mike singing. So we have only changed one member since the start of it. So so for both EP and the first album, it was Mike. Yeah.
So where did you all meet?
We basically grew up together. We went to the same school, me and George, the drummer.
Yeah.
So I met him when I was like 13 or 14, and he was back then a really, really good drummer. He was, he was the talk of the school. Everyone was saying, "Oh, you got to hear George play. He's brilliant," and he really was. So he was a huge inspiration for me back then, because I had I hadn't really begun to play the guitar, but I was really into the music. And I wanted to be with the cool guys, so I started to play, and then I got to know him and stuff like that. So, we went to the same school and became friends at a very early age. And the rest of the guys is just people who have lived in the area, guys that we met when we were young. out on pubs and stuff like that. So all the guys except Jonathan, I got to know Jonathan, the bass player, when he joined Dynasty through George.
Yeah, I mean, the first EP's got 2 vocalists. It's got, is it Liam as well as Mike Mickey?
Oh, yeah, Linnea, of course. Yeah, she did, I mean, at that time, it was just a project, so there were no, like, designated singer. We just wanted to, like, we're gonna have some cool music. And Linnea and George, they are married, so it was, like, a pretty... we just hang in the same, like, groups, you know? So that's how that came about.
So the EP, the project, did you think it was going to be a band, or was it just like testing the water?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it was I just wanted to push the music out, because I really had that feeling that I've been working on those tracks for a long time, and I didn't have any intention at all, you know, making it a band or go out on tour. Just like, this is some really fantastic music, in my opinion, and I wanted to do it with my friends. So we just had a good time doing it, and it was like, you know, at that time when it was so easy, you could release the music by yourself, and you could promote it through Facebook and through Spotify. The algorithms were a bit different, so it was an easy thing to do. And we had I had dug really deep into the production, you know, had written for a really long time and produced a lot. So I was pretty confident that the sound was going to be pretty okay. So all those bits fit together.
Right then. So the first album, Worlds Beyond? Sounds of Frontier Records. Who else did you approach for a record deal?
It was actually Frontiers who did the first. They reached out to us, and first I wasn't really sure. Like we hadn't, like, discussed if we were about to do anything more than the EP, but we got a really good we got a really good feedback on it. So I think we just said, okay, let's go for an album, and then they come up with some good suggestions, and then we started our collaboration together.
Right, because it's a great artwork, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
Who did the artwork?
It's Gustavo Sanchez. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but he's doing a lot of really good artwork. You can follow him on Instagram. He's done, like, really, really huge acts of bandits, Amaranth, and I think a lot of people are using him for the artworks nowadays.
So the artwork, did you come up, tell him the ideas that you wanted, or did he just pitch about listening to the music?
Oh yeah, I had, like, some ideas that I wanted to tell him, and then he came up with a concept, and it was like, it was like from the start, it was this is going to be really good, because it has, you know, certain elements that I wanted to tie to it. So he really got my, like, initial idea for it. So it was a really easy collaboration, and it turned out really good.
Yeah. So who came up with the album title, Worlds Beyond? Is that the only title you had for this album?
Yeah, can't really remember how we decided to go with Worlds Beyond, but I think it has some sort of connection to the music, that it's very astral, it's very wide, it's you know, no boundaries, whatever. So it's just I think Worlds Beyond is a pretty good title. As for the teams as well, it's much more of a, like, concept album, the first album, than the new one that we released, Universe Calls.
Right, because I know, like you said, it's very wide. Progressive music, isn't it? It's no boundaries to progressive music, can change into anything.
Right, exactly. And that's what I really love about this music, because it doesn't have any, like, the chorus has to come within 15 seconds, and it has no templates whatsoever. You can do whatever you want, and I think that gets easily misunderstood, because people tend to think, oh, it's really good music, but it should be much more catchy. And from my point of view, I don't really want the choruses to be catchy, or of course it's a really good chorus is a really good chorus, but to me it's more important that it fits to like the whole arrangement of the track. So it doesn't necessarily have to have a living on a prayer chorus. More like to me it's much more important that it has a really good connection with the rest of it.
So when it comes to progressive metal bands, who's your inspirations? Who do you listen to? Who's the ones that really catch you?
Of course, Symphony X has been my heroes for 20 years.
I would have never guessed that in the music.
Yeah, obviously. Those guys are definitely, because I can relate so much to Michael Romeo's work, because I think I write in a very similar way, being very inspired by orchestral music and film music. And it's not like just only hard-hitting riffs. There are a lot of like really nice arrangements around everything. So those guys definitely. And there's a Norwegian band called Pagan's Mind.
I know those guys. I'm good friends with them.
Oh yeah, they're great. And especially the guitar player Johan Viggo is one of my greatest idols in terms of how he his nuances when he plays solos, and especially the melodies has been really appealing. So I think those bands is like my top two. But I mean, I think the genre has also a progressive metal nowadays isn't as progressive metal was like 25 years ago. I think a lot of
there's a lot of detuned guitar, and they're going for that real like screamy sort of modern sort of stuff, and dingent whatever they call this shit. Not right. My thing. Not like my thing.
7/8 string guitars, and I think bands like Periphery and they are qualifying into that.
Tesseract and all those bands.
Oh yeah. And I mean, they are great, but to me, progressive music is like music nowadays is very hi-fi. Progressive music to me is a little bit lo-fi. You know, you have some like 90s keyboard patterns and stuff like that. So I think it's which we really tried to do with this album. It's a lot about the sound and the arrangements. And for this new album, Universe Calls, that we released a month ago, I really tried to like push everything back a notch rather than go like full distortion, because I really love the dynamics that you get and the balance, and especially when you do a lot of longer tracks, it cannot be like full speed ahead 9 minutes. You have to have some breathing pauses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think two of my favorite progressive metal bands is Fate's Warning and Psychotic Waltz.
Cool.
I don't know if you know those bands. Obviously, you know Fate's Warning.
Oh, yeah, Fate's Warning, yeah. And the other was called Psychotic Waltz.
Yeah, the singer plays flute. Absolutely amazing.
Oh,
if you've not heard them, I'm going to have to send you a link so you can check them out.
Oh, yeah, please do. I'm always open.
Very, very interesting band. So the first album then, John, what's your favorite songs from this album?
From the first album, I think one of my favorite tracks is Finding the Paragon, because that was like, I remember when I tried out the intro piano lick, which like really hooked me in that like mysterious. It had a lot of tension, and I really liked how that track came about later on. And Synergy is also one of my favorites, a little bit more progressive, longer track on that record. And I also love the. I think it's Seeker of the Light. I think that's the last song of the album. It's really nice as well. A little more farewell kind of setting to it.
Right. Did you produce the album?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So how long did it take to record the debut album?
It took me around like 3 years, 3-4 years, if we're counting the, writing the stuff. In production, when we had everything on the table, basically I think it took us a year, because we did the vocals in like different steps, because we couldn't find like decent time to do it all at once. So I think things got delayed, and but I think it was like 8 or 9 months from that time we recorded the drums till the product was finished, and then it took another 9 months before it was actually released. So
wow. So why did Mika leave the band, Micah?
I think we were in a bit of hiatus at that time. This was after the release in 2020. There was a pandemic going on, and I mean, no one knew anything what was about to go down. So I mean, we didn't do much. I wrote some music for the new album, but we didn't had any ideas or like, and you couldn't tour, and so we were in a, like all the bands, in a pretty bad state where we didn't like knew so much. So yeah, and then he got the opportunity to join Amaranth later on, so it was just like, yeah, go with it,
Right then.
and then we had some, I think we also wanted different things in terms of the singing wise. I think I wanted to go in a bit more dynamic way. Mike's voice is brilliant for like the metal. He's a really good metal singer. But I think I wanted to have more like dynamic and not so much high pitch necessarily. More someone who could really tell a story.
Right then. So the next album, this baby, this badass.
Oh yeah.
Universal Call is an absolute fantastic album. Like I said, it's one of my favorite albums of this year. It's really, I've really took to it. It's like, I couldn't believe how brilliant it was. But Universal Calls, who came up with the name for this one?
It was me and Georg. Georg is the guy who writes all the lyrics. I mean, I do my fair bit of it. And the Mike Blanc, the keyboard player, is also he has written the lyrics for "Caught in a Dream" on this one as well. But mainly it's me and Georg who come up with all the themes and ideas for the record. So I think it was also very suitable, giving the theme again, this very space-wise traveling exploration. A lot of those themes is covered in the lyrics, so we wanted to give a little bit more depth. So you could say, if you're looking at the cover, you have a lot of the tracks is like related to it. The first, now you're cropped, but I know there it's.
You mean doing that bit there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you have like a vast, like a sand dune, and then you come up to the mountains, and then you have like some kind of stargate, which. And the hands. So the first is like Sands of Time, obviously, which has a lot of those themes related to it. And then as you look on the picture, you like move on throughout the record.
So was it inspired by sci-fi movies?
I mean, yeah, you could say. I guess there are a lot of things like that. A lot of sci-fi, definitely. Not anyone in particular, but those themes is just, I think that's why a lot of people write about those themes in progressive music, because like we said earlier, it doesn't have any borders. You can create what you want, and you don't have to have a like, it doesn't have to be for real. So I think yeah, of course it's a lot of sci-fi inspired.
I feel very cosmic looking at this picture at the minute.
Oh yeah, it's looking very good. I can tell.
I should have put a space hat on.
Oh yeah.
So the album then. What's your favorite songs from this album? Because I've noticed you've got an instrumental, an intro, and that kind of, for me, after listening to the album, I really enjoyed it that much. I thought, why didn't you do 2 extra tracks and just have the, you know what I mean? It's quite annoying because you just get into it and it's over.
Yeah, then you have to wait another 2 years,
So why did you do an intro and an instrumental? Why couldn't you do them as extra the instrumental as an extra track and put a couple more vocal songs in there?
I mean, for me, it's first off, it really takes a lot of time to write those things. Like I mentioned earlier, right even before the pandemic, I started to explore with a lot of the tracks that you hear on the album. I had some ideas for even before 2020. So it took me well over 4 years to finalize everything. So of course, I mean, I would love to have 2 or even 3 more tracks with vocals, but it takes a lot of time writing these tracks. And I mean, in the middle of the process, we also got a new singer, so it wasn't really, it was a little bit a race against the clock. We couldn't, like, we didn't have too much time to write even 2 or 3 tracks more. So therefore, we have in the middle section the Arcane Exploration, which is probably one of my favorite 2 tracks of the album, because they are so different from the rest. They really, I would say, showcase what Paralydium is and what kind of what we want to give to the audience, and what we are, basically. So I think those 2 tracks really have like the definition sound of Paralydium. And yeah, so it's really a journey. I mean, just I talked to another guy a couple of days ago, and he said he started off listening to Arcane Exploration Part 1, and then he went to Arcane Exploration Part 2. So I think you can listen to this album in different ways. There's no like preferable way to do it. I would go for the first track, just go first track and then plunder everything.
So the title, Universal Chords, did you have any other titles?
Yeah, we had some other suggestions as well, but I think it became a bit too complicated, and we tried to find more references in the lyrics. And yeah, so it was just, we need to have something that, really pops at directly. So yeah, I think it came out very good.
So the artwork, was it done by the same artist that did the last album?
No, this is actually a very dear friend of mine, a guy that I've been working a lot with. His name is Anders Bergström, and he's a creative art director. So yeah, I'm really amazed about this artwork. I'm so extremely proud of it.
It's really good cover. So Alexander, where did you meet Alexander? Because he's got an amazing voice. It goes with the music. It goes with the music because you've changed the style a little bit. But he also reminds me, as you've probably seen in the review, Mike Anderson from Cloudscape. This album is like Cloudscape's little brother, because Cloudscape broke up, and then this album came out, and I listened to it, and I was thinking, this is what Cloudscape should have done if they were still together. You created the second Cloudscape brother, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a brilliant album. It just reminds me of Cloudscape so much. It reminds me of, like you said, Symphony X, DGM, and then you've got Lalu from France. So that's what this album. They're on Frontiers.
Oh, they're on Frontiers as well.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you find, Alexander? Because, like I say, it does sound like Mike Anderson a hell of a lot.
Oh, cool. Well, that's the funny part, because he's been like I've known him for like 10 years, and we're like having mutual friends and all that. And he's a musical singer, so he's been singing in musicals for like 25 years. So he's, an amazing singer. And I've always knew that, but I have never thought of him as a singer for Paralydium. And that is because I think I was so much into this kind of old school, the singer has to sound like Dio or Russell Allen, or, had this like broad, intense voice and can do the high pitch stuff. Of course, he can do those things as well, but he has other characteristics, which I learned along the way when we were just talking for fun, we're looking for a new singer. And yeah, I have tried a few out, but haven't really got that feel, and so we were talking about it for fun, and we met, and he was really devoted. At first I sent him some tracks, and you can listen to it, and we have a beer, and we can try some ideas out, and he came back well prepared and had really catch the feel of the music. So when we started, it was just like another kind of, from going to I thought high pitch were really cool, and really tough vocals here, going from that until I heard Alexander's voice was like, okay, this is going to be completely what I what I not been thinking. So in a really, really positive way, because I felt from start when we started to try these tracks out, it was just like, now we are creating something new. Now we're creating, of course, you can find reference of all those bands we mentioned before, but now we're starting to really sound like something exclusive, and that really got me to dig a lot into how we should create all the dynamics for the tracks, and putting pieces there and there to really find that like his full potential, so you really could go from as you get a lot in the Arcane Exploration part 1 and 2, the tracks starting out really like calm, and then it really just grows on you, so yeah.
So what's your favorite songs? For me, it's Sands of Time and Forged in the Past. I think Forged in the Past is the one where it mellows out in the middle, and Alexander's doing the vocals, and then there's another section with acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that's the song Forged in the Past?
Yeah, that's Forged in the Past. Yeah,
that is fucking amazing. I love that song.
So I
absolutely, I can't stop playing that little section. I keep rewinding it back. It's
cool.
Amazing. So what's your favorite song?
The acoustic guitar, no?
Yeah. So what's your favorite songs then, John, from this album?
I mean, it's you're having your babies, and you're gonna tell which of them is your favorite. It's, of course, it's a tough thing to do, but I mean, like I said before, in terms of if I should talk, or when I talk about Paralydium and the sound of Paralydium, and I would say my favorite tracks is Arcane Exploration part 1 and 2, because those tracks are so progressive in a way that I really want to tell the audience. But Sands of Time, I mean, it's just a fucking boomer. I think it's really a really good track, and it's pretty solid. It's much more like radio friendly, if you will. And of course, Forging the Past, I mean, that's those two tracks is the tracks that we did videos on, so they are really good formatted in a way that, especially Forging the Past, because there we show our progressive side a little bit more than in Sands of Time.
I think this album is probably in my top 3 albums for progressive metal this year.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
It's just outstanding. I just hope you guys can make a better album than this on the next one. Do you think you can do it?
I don't know, man, but challenge accepted.
Yeah, I hope you do. So how long did it take to what sort of reviews have you been getting so far for this album? I mean, obviously I give it 5 out of 5, as you know.
Oh yeah, and thank you very much for that. No, we have received really good reviews, really good feedback. I mean, I'm not like going for. I mean, it's really interesting to read what people think of it and their reactions. But I mean, as far as I know, a lot of people really like the album, and we get really much appreciation from the fans. And I think a lot of the fans were just happy that we came up with a new album, actually, because we have been pretty inactive, on social media and stuff like that. So I don't think a lot of people expected that there was going to be another record. But the reactions have been really good. So, and that's always fantastic to see. I mean, that gives you so much energy, something that you have worked on so hard and for so long, and really, you give your heart and soul into this music. So it's when people appreciate it, and when people asking questions about it, something that you have created, I mean, it's a really fantastic feeling.
So we're talking about the new album. Do you have any ideas for the next album, or any songs or anything, any ideas yet?
I mean, there's always ideas, and I mean, I don't actually stop playing the guitar as soon as the album is released. So I mean, nothing that is of any like decent state or anything. And I mean, it's really at this moment just sit back and enjoy the show a bit, read all the comments, and see how the reception of the album is, and yeah, maybe think about next chapter. But I mean, I can't help myself. I always write stuff, and then if it will end up on an album, we'll see.
Have you thought of doing any projects in between?
I mean, for me, I'm always open to collabs and stuff like that. I've done some solos for different acts and bands,
Such as?
Ronnie Atkins.
Ronnie, yeah, he's a good friend of mine, Ronnie.
Oh yeah, he's wonderful.
How's he doing? How's he doing now? Because
he's doing. He's fantastic. I mean, I actually met him a couple of months ago. We were playing. We did I did not play with him, but I played with another act, and we did a fundraiser for like Dio cancer tribute kind of thing, and there were really a lot of acts there, and that was actually the first time I met Ronnie. I hadn't met him before, but he was in really good shape, and he was he was singing his ass off. I mean, it was
great singer. Pretty Birds are my favorite Danish band.
Yeah, they are really good, and also a band I've been listening a lot to. I have the chance to do a couple of solos on his albums, and but I haven't done so much collabs. But I mean, if the idea is right, I'm always open to it.
Did you ever get asked to do the Ronnie Atkins play live with him? Did he ask you to come on?
Yeah. He asked me, but I mean, I couldn't have the time off, unfortunately. So, family man, and a lot of work that needs to be done. So, it's always a struggle, being away from home. But yeah.
So, how do you see this new album as a progression from the debut?
I think it's much more mature in a way, because I think for the EP, I wanted to really,
test the water, test the water sort of thing. The EP.
Yeah, exactly. And for Worlds Beyond, I think that was a little bit more song related. I mean, a little bit more easy listening. A little bit more focused on, having intro, verse, bridge, chorus, and so I think for this album I wanted to have like the full scope. So I think it's much more mature in a way that we start to really get ourselves a sound, especially now with Alex as the new singer. I think it's we're starting together.
So when you went for other singers, who else did you audition? Was anybody that we may know?
None that It's just some locals, and no one that you would know of.
Really? You don't know?
Oh yeah, maybe. But I'm not going to mention any names, No. I mean, there were some interesting characters, definitely, and it probably took a whole another turn, But I'm really happy the way it ended up, since me and Alex is really good friends since 10 years back, and he knows the guys as well. So it would just jump on the train.
So do yourself a favor, John. Keep this guy.
Oh yeah,
hang on to him, man. You need him. He's a really good singer, very strong. It's like I said, he's very much like Mike Anderson from Cloudscape.
Yeah.
Have you heard Cloudscape at all?
Oh yeah, sure.
Do you agree with me that he sounds like Mike Anderson?
I see exactly what you mean. They have like the same kind of build up, and they have the same kind of
vocal range, melody hooks.
Exactly.
So I mean, like, you've got new ideas. How are you going to see the next sound? Do you think you're going to go in the same direction with the next album?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's so hard to say at this stage. It's usually something that like evolves along the way, But I mean, initially, of course, I mean, since I'm very happy about the result on this album, I wouldn't mind having it the same direction. Maybe even push it back a bit more, adding more acoustic elements to it. And just for you, I'm going to bring two more tracks with vocals as well. So
brilliant. So please do. I mean, Do you see it as an honor being compared to Symphony X and DGM?
Of course. I mean, those guys are the greatest in the industry of progressive metal and bands that I've been listening to for a really long time. So, I mean, being in the same in the same discussion as those bands, I mean, of course, it's really it's very flattering, and it's very I mean, it's the highest honor that you can achieve, being recognized as like a solid act like those bands. So, and that is something that has been, I mean, I have never strived for like being on the front cover of a guitar magazine or anything like that, but I mean, if people can see us like a really good solid progressive band in like in the veins of those bands, as you just mentioned, I mean, that's like that completes me. So then that's really flattering.
So have you ever thought of doing this as a trilogy, Universal Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, but slightly changing the name? Has that come to mind?
You mean like the first one is Worlds Beyond and this one is Universe Calls? Do you think it does that, or?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you did something else that's related to the universe for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, because Paralydium, in a way, it is a separate universe. I mean,
it sounds Egyptian. It sounds Egyptian.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe that's how is it going to turn out.
maybe a pyramid and put the like the Dio album on the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you ever thought of playing the Prog Power Festival? Have you been approached for that? Because you'd be ideal for that.
I know that festival. I haven't been in contact like one-on-one with I kind of know the guys, but and I can only agree it would be a really good forum for us to perform. And I mean, just it's very unfortunate that I missed the bands playing this year. It was like such a solid lineup. And
I don't know about that. I don't know about that because like that Tranquility Act, progressive metal, more death metal. I kind of get that.
Circus Maximus and Pagan's Mind for me had been like a really nice to see. So yeah, I mean, as I say to everybody, we are always open for ideas on any types of gigs and whatever, but yeah, it has to fit in the schedule, you know. And a lot of the guys are they're touring a lot with their other bands. So but I mean, if something pop-ups, we're definitely taking a look at it.
What other bands are they in?
Georg and Jonathan, they play with Dynasty,
right?
And they also do a lot of shows with Jolene Turner.
Oh, right, good. Yeah, he's a great singer.
Yeah, really good. And Jonathan is playing with a Swedish band called Pain as well.
Oh yeah, that's Peter Tanger, from Hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, they are pretty busy, and so I think it's those guys are doing a lot of things. And Alexander is doing he's doing his musical thing, which is like his like full-time job. So he's out touring now down in Malmo in Sweden.
Oh, I've been there a few times. Great event. KB Club, great club.
Yeah. And so he's performing a lot. So and I'm not doing anything at the moment, just work and maintenance.
Okay, so your ideal tour, with who would it be if you could tour with anybody within reason?
I mean, I think it would be really cool to like do some opening act for Symphony X. I mean, that would be like a match made in heaven, at least for me. But I think also for the audience, because so I think that would be really good. And I think you could do a lot of like Scandinavian bands, like Circus Maximus, for instance. Really good.
Yeah. That's kind of weird you mentioned that, because Symphony X have just been touring Europe.
Yeah, and I saw them this Saturday.
Did you meet them? Did you meet them?
No, I did not.
Oh, shit, that would have been great for you to talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that has to happen someday. If I get the one-on-one with Mike Romy, you know, I'd never leave that.
I've met him a couple of times.
Yeah,
I'm friends with Mike, the bass player.
Oh, cool.
Mike LaPond, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those guys seem really down to earth, and yeah, their show this Saturday was, I mean, it was amazing. I was like, man, I really get a hit. It was brilliant.
But maybe I should have a word with Mike Lepon for you and just say, Paralydium, you've got to get them on tour.
Yeah.
Are you friends with them? Are you friends with them on Facebook?
With Mike?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm. Maybe I have to check that. I'm not so active anymore, you know.
Yeah, you need to. So I'd like to thank you, John, for doing this interview. I wish you all the best. Like I said, this album is absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite albums of this year. I hope it sells really well for you, and I hope to see it. When are you going to be touring? Have you got any plans to tour? If you can, like you said, they're all busy, the band members.
Yeah. Nothing now, but I mean, we've been looking at 2025 at the earliest. So it will be really nice to have some gigs, maybe during the summer of 2025. So we'll see what pop up and what's available.
Right. So thank you for doing this interview. Do you have anything to say to the people watching this on YouTube?
I'm just saying, I mean, really appreciate it. And I mean, hope you like the album. Support us.
Brilliant, John. Keep in touch, brother. Thank you. Man. Your album fucking rocks.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Bye-bye. Cheers.